Morning dew. This is the HOTSPOT segment. My name is Kelvin Mungai, and as I assured you earlier on, I am joined on set by two wonderful gentlemen, and I will be giving you the chance to meet them and get to know them a little bit later on. For now though, let me remind you that you can get in touch with us through the SMS line 23595, or feel free to leave us your feedback on any one of our social media platforms. The name that we go by is @DISAC-TV. Now, gentlemen, welcome to the HOTSPOT segment. We will be discussing current affairs politically, but before we get into what we have planned for the discussion today, I would just like to give you the opportunity. Introduce yourselves, tell the people who you are, what you're doing, your aspirations, and anything else that you feel comfortable divulging to the public. Let's start with you, sir.
Bona Kelvin, it's a pleasure to be here this beautiful morning. And my name is Morin Njiru, a local businessman and also senatorial aspirant, MURANG'A County 2022. Yes.
Is there a party that you are affiliated to?
Currently running independent. Yes.
You're an independent candidate?
Yes, I am an independent candidate.
Oh, well, we wish you all the best in the accomplishment of that vision.
Thank you.
You, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kevin. I'm grateful to be with you this morning, in particular in my county, where you're located. I'm a businessman from Zikatown. I'm a politician as well. I'm running for MC seat in the Township Board. I was there last time. I had tried with Jubilee ticket. I did not manage to go through. And I feel it is time to be there. I've been in Dika. Actually, I've been brought up in MURANG'A. I come from Kadara, a place called that's where I started schooling. It is primary school. I joined Channel High School, and later on I joined Polytechnic for electrical and electronic engineering. And thereafter I joined Juakali, and I found myself in the printing industry. And I've gone through. I'm now doing video shooting, live streaming. So I think I'm more headed to more of media industry. And currently I've also engaged myself in another business whereby I have an application called Wadigi Express. It is in Play Store, whereby we are assisting, or rather it's an empowerment kind of platform whereby we are empowering taxi drivers, border riders, that is motorbike riders, tuk-tuk riders, and even pick-up and lorry business people to get their customers.
Well, I'm getting the sense that you are kind of, the definition of what we call hustler before the term was politicized.
Yeah,
you have a foot in just about everything.
Definitely. In fact, when I went to Zikatown, I started like I think I was a cleaner. I was employed by Jovokimakia, the famous old man called Jovokimakia, and I was there. I was employed for about 10 years before I started my business. Actually, 15 years, because I started my business when I was still a cleaner in his building, Jovokimakia building.
No, wow. Well, having the two of you here and having both of you with political aspirations is very interesting, because I do have quite some interesting topics that I want us to discuss. And the first of them, the topic that I want us to get started on, is the president's decision to be politically active in this campaigning period. Do you feel like he has what it takes to swing the vote in favor of either aspirant, that is either the Deputy President William Ruto or Honorable Raila Odinga?
Yes, I do, by all means. His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has been in government for the last 10 years. No, actually has been the president now for the last almost 10 years. And he has been in government before that for quite a period of time, I believe for more than a decade or so, which then means I think he has what it takes, and he has the voice, and most people or many people are ready to listen and follow to the directives that he's going to give. Whether he supports the DP or whether he supports Raila Amolo Odinga, I think people will have his back. So I believe he has what it takes, and again, being the president for the last 10 years and in government for quite some time, I think he has what it takes to convince people and actually sway to whichever side that he wants people to go.
And what do you think about the very, very public disagreement between him and his deputy? Could it be reverse psychology, as some people are claiming, or is it really a matter of bridges broken and burned?
My opinion is I've never had the DP or the president publicly mention either of the other names. DP saying, oh, who did this to me? It's always the people that are around or that are more affiliated to either the DP or the president. So I think to some extent, even in the game of chess or in the game of cards, you really do not put your game out there to where it's very predictable on your next move. So I think to some extent, and that's what it takes in politics, I mean, if you put your game out there, then all the opponents that are out there will sort of attack and discredit the moves that you're about to make. So I think at the end of the day, I think it's still a political card game that we won't get to know until maybe the last couple of months before the elections. Yeah. So, but again, I don't think there's that active back and forth directly between the president and his DP. Yes,
we'll be getting back to you shortly, because the president has stated that he will be making a tour of MURANG'A County, rather the Mount Kenya region, and he will be putting it openly out there, what happened between him and his deputy. And he has hinted at what actually happened yesterday in the speech that he gave. For now though, Bona Isaac, what do you believe that the president has what it takes to swing the vote?
In fact, that's a very long track. If he go that way. One, Muridi have mentioned that President our President, Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, has been the president for the last 10 years. True, to those words. But you also consider Kibaki has also been the president, was also a president for 10 years, for a decade. And besides being a president for those many years, or rather for those 10 years, he was also a deputy president. He also had rich history of this country in terms of politics and so many things, including economics. And I think so far we've never gotten someone best in economics like Mr. Kibaki. And considering Kibaki joined the government when he was very young, from Makelele, and having considered that, Kibaki compared with Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, he is the person who would have given us a better direction in terms of politics, or rather in terms of electing, or rather saying who is the best person to take over after him. But the guy, that old man, he was very silent until the last minute. We didn't know he would have wanted to become the president. And we saw how everything went smoothly. But now, if we are going to entertain such a thing, there are three things we should ask ourselves. one. And I was asking myself, why do people vote when they are above 18? And we have students who can as well vote who are under 18. It's because over 18 we are able to make our own decisions. That is one. Two, it is Kenyans' democratic right to elect their preferred candidate. So there is no way we can wait for someone, either having been the president or any other kind of a leader, to tell us or rather to give us or rather to give us the direction as far as election is concerned, because that's why it is it is an election. Otherwise, it would have been hereditary. Alternatively, he would have the constitution would have been he appoints the next person to take over after him. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a very long election, because either way it does not mean one person has the best blame. Or rather, and anyway, we respect him because he's our president. But he would get, or rather, we would respect him more if he allows every Kenyan to exercise his constitutional right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
All right. Well, thank you so much for both of your opinions. Now, the president made a speech yesterday, and it was publicized while he was in Mombasa launching the universal health care. And in his speech, he hit out at Ruto and the MPs that are allied to him for basically starting campaigning before, the politicking period started. And the president now said the politicking period is here and we will hear from him. So do you think that this speech and the rift that there is between him and his deputy will polarize the country, or is it something that will have little to no political impact?
I think at the end of the day, the Honorable President is pro-peace. When I say he's pro-peace, reason why the handshake came about. On the same point, given the fact that the DP has sort of a lot of people, let's say, has managed to garner up a lot of support from all regions, whichever statement that he's going to make or that he's going to give has to be pro-peace. Meaning that he cannot have the two sides, Azimio or Oka and UDA, and the other side, sort of clashing. So, and I think he's wise enough. I think also his advisors will lead him to the right direction, which then means he could as well just say same thing that happened during the handshake. The president said all he wants is peace for Kenya. And that's why the handshake came about. So same case, again, he might just come up and say every Kenyan has his right to vote and to decide on who's going to be the next president and who's going to be his next local leader. So, I mean, he might just step back and say, hey, all we want is peace. Whatever happens, let's embrace peace. So it doesn't have to be that he's going to condemn the DP and the other side, because again, as much as it is not has not been a campaign season, you'd not just sit back for 5 years and just come up and say, hey, this and this has not been right. I mean, if you see something going wrong, just call a press conference and say, hey, I think Honorable Governor so-and-so, Honorable Senator so-and-so, Honorable MCA so-and-so, I think this is not the direction to take for your local community, and I think something needs to be done about this and that. Instead for sitting down for 5 years, watch things go astray, then come back and say, hey, things have not been right for the last 5 years, and now I'm here to fix them. Where have you been for the last 5 years? You just sat back and watched, things go bad, and now you're saying you're going to fix them. And again, there's no you're going to fix a whole system in one day. So meaning you're also going to need the support of those people, your colleagues in the local county assembly, in the Senate, in Parliament, and work as a team to make the changes that are necessary. So at the end of the day, I think again, it's everybody's political right to vote. And again, as much as I'm also a political aspirant, for peace. So whichever way, whichever person that the people decide to vote for, as long as peace prevails, then let it be.
At the end of the day, peace is the most important aspect.
Yes.
Well, Bon Isaac, what are your thoughts on the president's speech yesterday?
I think yesterday message, or rather yesterday, whatever you'd call comments from our president, I cannot advise that he take that route. Our president should moderate. When the light, or rather when Laila Odinga, whether he prefer him to be the next president or Ruto, go beyond a certain line, he should call them. Let us go slow. Let us fight for tomorrow's country. Rather, let us fight for Kenya. Rather, what I want to say, the reason there was we had a peaceful election in 2013 is because the biggest guy then was silent. So everything went well, and so there was not that there was not that fear of what would happen. But now, if you now see president engaging in politics, this is what is going to happen very soon. You have always noted, and I praise our deputy president because he has never insulted our president. He has never, like just the way Mr. Muridi have said, he has never uttered any word against our president. And yet, you have ever heard our president uttering a word against his deputy president? Actually, the second in command. Because you can ask yourself, where did the word Tagataga came from? No, it did not came from any other person. It is the president who referred his deputy president as a man who is tagatagaring, you know. But anyway, I'm sure the man, or rather his deputy president, is wise enough. The Bible says somewhere, you are always thought to be wise when you are silent, until you open your mouth. So I would say that is a very long direction our president is taking. Because now he's going to allow so many things from different politics without minding who are they talking against. And possibly, he may also go beyond a certain level that people would feel, now this is the long direction our president has taken. So I don't want to dwell much on that. But I want to say, and I want to reiterate, his position should be, let me finish my job. I'm no longer, I don't want to become a leader, or rather I won't be the next president. Those who are willing to go for it, let them go for it. Whoever you take it, you'll be my president. As simple as that. Just the way he's the president through our former president, Bwana Kibaki. And the man is well. We have never had him thereafter. Why? Because he had finished his job. That is that's my opinion. Yeah. Otherwise, we are headed to a very bad situation if the president takes that route.
Well, he has decided to take the route based on the reports that we are receiving and some words that he is uttering. And one of the areas that will be especially affected by his decision to remain politically active even after his retirement is Mount Kenya, the Mount Kenya region. You're both leaders, or aspiring leaders in this region. So how will the president deciding to be politically active affect the region, especially in terms of political leadership, those who are here and those who will aspire to come?
Well, my thinking is our president is too young to retire. Now, when I say he's too young to retire, I'm not saying stepping down from being the president, but too young to retire from politics. I think given his age, given his motivations, he's still going to have a say on a lot of things, also on an advisory capacity. Meaning when we're having issues, let's say in Mount Kenya, the best quote spokesperson that we can have is a retired president, somebody who's been there, has run the government, has seen the ins and outs, even things that are not private to the public, and knows how policies are made and how to go about them. I think sort of he will be the Mount Kenya kingpin even after he retires. So, and I think to some extent, that's sort of the role that he's blending into. So even without being the president or without having any elected office, he still has a lot of, he still has a lot to play when it comes to advising the people of the region. And again, also being a peace ambassador. As much as we're saying, hey, you know, not one party can, what we call it, no one, I'm not trying to say party, but then, I mean, not people from one region can lead the country every other election. However, from an advisory capacity, if he's going to be out there, even in the next government, preaching and advocating for peace, I think the transition is going to be smoother, because again, you're not going to have so much hatred from one end, and again, there's going to be that cohesiveness between people from different regions. And the president, I believe, has the biggest role to play post-2022 elections from outside the government.
And what role would that be?
Preaching peace. I mean, that cohesiveness between the parties, between people from different regions, I think that's the best thing he can do, saying, hey, you know, the people have decided that we're going to go with this party, and the elections have been held, and now let's come together and work together as one country for the betterment of each and every citizen of this country.
But let me interject.
Yes, please.
Any person who can be or rather mediator, because that's what Mr. Mbili would be talking about, is someone who would not be aligned to one side. So, our president would have taken that position if he would remain silent. Because you see, if for example, Mr. or rather, if his deputy president would be elected the next president, and probably Mr. Raila Odinga say, or rather somehow, like you usually do, reject the outcome, the president is best placed to negotiate peace between the two if he had not taken any position. But if you take any position, whether he's advising Mount Kenya, like your question is all about, then he's not able to mediate. He is not able to be a peace. He cannot be the peacemaker. Why did we go for Kofi Annan? It's because he was not a Kenyan. If you would take any Kenyan, regardless of whatever or how peaceful he would be, everyone would perceive that person is aligned to one side, this side or the other. So I mean,
on the other hand, let me interject. You see, we are all entitled to different opinions. Meaning, like now, for example, I'm buying as an independent candidate. I have my colleague maybe who's running under the UDA ticket. I have another colleague maybe running under the DP ticket, and anybody else under Azimia. However, God forbid I do not emerge the elected senator MURANG'A County. I will concede. I'll say, hey, you know, we give it a good shot. And however, the people have decided. So as much as I have a different opinion, let's join hands together and work together. So again, the president is still entitled to an opinion, and he has his own thinking, and maybe he sees side B as the best. Previous elections, I mean, they went in together as Jubilee. Later on, again, despite the different opinions, despite all that was said during the campaigning season last time in 2017, he still came back and said, hey, I know you have a different opinion, I have a different opinion, but however, let's do this. Let's come together and work together for the betterment of the country.
That one I do agree. But now you see now what Murithi started by saying is that our president would take the role of being an advisor. But that would be best placed, I mean, if he would not take any position. Okay, well, people forget, and probably later on, he can still take that position, because as my brother said, he's young to retire. But I would say, as far as post-election is concerned, he's not the best placed. If at all, he can take any position. But getting to your point, in terms of how it will affect us as Mount Kenya, I think that's what you asked.
Yes, the leaders in the region.
Now, okay, it can affect us in different ways. One, definitely, we would have the president who's, if at all there can be some votes getting to whichever side he wants, definitely would have the president. He would wish to be the president. In other words, either way, I know he's able to affect the outcome. But you see, at the end of the day, do we have democracy? As Mount Kenya? We do. So we are still entitled to what I said there before. Remember, we did not, and I think I would get back there. We elected our president, Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, basically because of funding. And everyone, it is the public domain. We wanted to save those people from ISIS. Is it true? I don't know whether you agree with me. Because anyway, we had the like of Peter Kenneth. People, people believed that he had the best brain. And of course, in fact, even at this minute, we have never had such an MP in our country. I think he still holds the record. So I want to say, in terms of politics, I think we can have so many advisors. Maybe he can give, he can advise, but we still have so many other people who can advise. But now, considering, Mr. Moses, before you interject, considering that now the president has taken position, I think, and of course, if we get to Mount Kenya, I think let him give us some break. We give him, we elected him thrice actually, and anyway with passion anyway. So I want to say that he can only the respect he can give us The favor he can give us is to allow us, just the way we chose to elect him, and nobody persuaded us. In fact, he's not the one who persuaded us. We were persuaded. I don't know, but I would say we were just persuaded by. I think it is God who did it, and I believe it is God. There was no reason why we did it, apart from what I have said before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the only respect he can give to us is to allow us to elect someone we would like to be the president. If
Yes,
we choose,
but
if we go for Laila, well, that is our democratic right. If we go for Ruto, we are still entitled to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the decision does ultimately lie at the hands of the citizens.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
just that the president has as much of a right as anyone of us to
And that's
support
why
whichever candidate he
but-
desires.
And that's why he will go to the ballot box.
Mm-hmm.
Him alone. He will not go with anyone there. I also go myself there. I alone. Thika Township Ward people or voters, we also go there in a ballot box.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it is secret. Why? Because it is your right to exercise what you want. Even if it is your wife, she does not want to elect you, she will go there and then elect the other candidate or the other your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
That is her own right. In other words, I want to say it is our rights, our right as Mount Kenya people to decide who will be our next president. Actually, we should not be swayed to any person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, and while we are on the topic of the ballots, when we come back from this short break, we will be looking at what your thoughts are on the proposed amendments to the way the elections will be conducted. This is the hotspot. The conversation has just begun. It is time for us to take a short break, but we will be right back. Conversation continues with Bwana Mureithi and Bwana Isaac, who have quite some interesting opinions. Remember, you can get in touch with us on any one of our social media platforms, or send us an SMS on 23595, or get in touch with us on WhatsApp using the number that is on your screen right now. Now, gentlemen, before we went on break, we were to come back and discuss the proposed amendments to how the elections may be conducted. What are your thoughts on that?
Two things, and I'm going to talk about currently the digital way of tallying for the votes,
Mm-hmm.
and the analog. That's what has been proposed. The digital tallying that's also broadcasted on, I think, called media houses, brings about transparency,
Mm-hmm.
which then means you see the vote as it counts. You see if your party or candidate is winning or losing or lagging behind. So it brings about a lot of transparency,
Mm-hmm.
which is very necessary. I mean, to also avoid conflicts and say, hey, you remember like that one time back, I think in 07 when there was the Tharaka-Nithi.
Yes.
So in the last minute, then they said, hey, the Tharaka-Nithi vote just came in and bam, the numbers went up by 1 million or 800,000. So then obviously everybody was celebrating and saying, yeah, we got this. I mean, we've already won. Then I mean, just the votes from one region that just happened to be maybe the final to be tallied,
Mm-hmm.
just happened to be the game changer,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So again, you started celebrating too early, then the last minute you're saying, no, I mean, this election was rigged. Who knows? On the other hand, digital tallying that's broadcasted on all media houses, there's the other challenge. During the tallying, it also brings about a lot of chaos, a lot of clashes,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of conflict, because I mean, you might be seated somewhere at a local joint, maybe a local restaurant, watching the tallying. And then, just because your candidate is losing, it's just like Manchester and Arsenal game, you know.
Mm-hmm.
there seems to be a lot of anonymity between just people who are supporting different teams. And again, it can bring a lot of clashes even before the final vote is announced. So, I mean, and again, it gives people the opportunity to say, if you don't want to believe that your party is losing or your candidate is losing, you'll be up in arms, and sort of you can even convene goons to start chaos, start burning stuff in opposition or in plight of saying, hey, you know, our candidate was rigged out. And again, the final vote has not been announced. So I think at the end of the day, it depends on the mechanism that will be put about, whether we'll have police officers, GSU, or whoever patrolling the streets to make sure that peace prevails, to make sure there's no chaos from, you know, all local towns or major towns, major cities. Still, the government has to do what it takes to make sure there's that businesses will not suffer from, again, nobody wants to lose.
Indeed. Nobody wants to lose.
And again, some people do not take it lightly.
Me, I go for the better devil. And when I mean better devil, I mean he has given two examples whereby the results have been streamed openly, and that other situation whereby you just wait until you are told who has won. You see, the moment you are not streaming these votes accordingly, and where people can see whatever is going on or other things, whatever is taking place, that definitely would bring anxiety. Now, I think we are taking our country back to where it is coming from. One, we are in a digital world. The technology is moving so fast. Why have you found yourself here that you are not in the lobby? It's because we embraced technology. So, in fact, when I was coming on the way, I was wondering, or rather, I was supposed to go to Nairobi, not Murang'a. But because I know technology can allow you to broadcast from Murang'a to every corner of the country, that's why I came. That's why I had confidence that you are able to do it here. Rather, all I want to say, we are taking our country back to where we came from. Remember, there is anxiety. Of course, there is always that anxiety. Who will be the president? And of course, you have to moderate things. You have to make sure people are, because like he has talked about the two teams. Talk of whichever those teams, Manchester and probably Arsenal. You watch, you are able to tell the way this team is playing is going to defeat the other team. And that one give you, you prepare yourself. If you are the one who is going to win, you can even buy something to be, and now to start celebrating a little bit. Now, if you are the one who appear that you are going to lose, what are you going to do? Now you can start conceding defeat, isn't it? So that one, you prepare your mind. And now you cannot be, when we get to election, even if you get out to or rather you oppose, you can comfortably say, even if I oppose, I saw it. So, in other words, I want to say, one, we are bringing our country back. We are not embracing technology. And remember, the government we are in, it was digital. You remember when they were launching Jubilee in 2013? I don't know whether it was 2013. They were talking about a digital government. So where are we getting back to the old days? In fact, we should have every polling station. Like for what are we having? Like I've told you, I'm in video and photography industry. We do live stream events to people who are far away or rather who are outside the country. That's something we are used to. And anyway, people are do comfortably for everything at in their homes, so or wherever they are. So if we don't embrace that, we are taking our country back. We are bringing anxiety, and we shall be responsible to whatever people can do, having thought things were not done in the country.
Yes, I think it is the opinion of a lot of people that I have talked to, even off camera, that this move would be regressive instead of progressive. And well, I think that is the last question that we will be dealing with this morning on Hotspot. But before we finally close the session, I would just like to give each one of you the opportunity to address the country just very, very briefly, please, very briefly.
Okay. Kevin, it's been a pleasure being on Hotspot. And I think the message that I want to put out there, more so for everybody, all the citizens of this country, more so the people of Murang'a County, I think as we go through this campaign season or this politicking season, I think it will be good that we embrace peace, that we preach peace. As much time as we're taking to be out there, sort of putting our opinions or different opinions and ambitions and things that we'd want and changes that we'd want for our people, I think at the end of the day, let's embrace peace. And again, why peace? The people who suffer the most when there's economic stability, when there's political clashes, then economic downfall is inevitable. So local businesses are going to suffer, residents are going to suffer. So let's embrace peace, and God bless you.
Well, you indeed are a local businessman. You had to hit out that local businesses would suffer in the absence of peace. Bon Isaac.
Okay, I would first of all say thank you for hosting us, and especially in this program. One word to all Kenyans, that leadership comes from God. And I would, as I mentioned that I'm a born again. I have not said that before, but I'm born again. And I believe God has a good plan for this country. And regardless of who is going to be our president, or even all other leaders, God is able to take us to the right direction. If only we pray for this country, if only we tell God to give us leaders. Because if leaders are going to come from God, if they are bad, it is my conviction that God is able to change them. If they are good, it is my conviction that God is going to make them better to serve this country. Because at the end of the day, we believe we are God's people.
Yes.
So we should maintain peace as we pray God to give the right leaders, and we should accept whichever result from MCA to the president.
Indeed.
And to people of Zika, I know we shall have peaceful election there. I'm sure, despite being a town whereby we have so many different tribes, I'm sure we shall be able to embrace peace, that we shall have a better town in the future. And I would also take this opportunity to ask them to vote me as their next member of County Assembly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for availing yourselves today for the Hotspot segment. It has been a wonderful conversation. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as we have, but do not go too far away, because although Hotspot has come to an end today, Wairimu Mogo is coming up next with a topic on entrepreneurship. It is a conversation you do not want to miss.